urban geography, nature and scope. So urban geography, nature and scope, you can say that this is the primary study before we go into the depths of urban geography, the various facets of urban geography. So this is the primary study that we need to do. We need to first know what is urban geography before going into the depths of urban geography. So in this cover slide, you can easily see that two types of environment have been given. So on the left hand side over here, you can see some kind of a pictorial description, depiction. On the right side shows something else. So you can easily understand from these two different types of pictures that which one is urban and which one is rural. So from this structures itself, you can easily understand that this is an urban, and also from here, from the physical setup, from the physical structure, you can understand that okay, this is not urban. So let us see. So first of all, when we speak of urban, the word that comes is rural also. So urban, rural. So we need to understand because these two are the opposite, just like you had seen in the previous slide. So these two are the opposite, urban and then rural. We need to understand the difference between these two to understand which of the geographical setting is belongs to a particular type, whether that is urban, whether that is rural. So let us see how these are the various bases of comparison. So first is meaning. So what do we mean when we say urban, or what do we mean when we say rural? So when we say urban, it means what? It is a settlement where the population is very high. Just for example, let us take the example of I will give the example of Mizoram. Just imagine, just try to understand this through the example of Mizoram. So Aizawl city, of course, if we take Aizawl district, we have Aizawl city, we also have rural Aizawl. So if we take urban, that is Aizawl city, then what is the population of Aizawl? That is very high. But if we take any rural outskirts, any rural area, then the population will be very low. And this rural, where it is situated in the outskirts, not in the center part. In generally in the center part, in the nodal area, because of various features of nodality, the city or the town or the urban area is located. But if we take any rural area throughout the world, we will see that that rural area will be situated in the peripheral zone or in the outskirts of that urban area. And the other thing is the built up environment. Just like you have seen in the previous slide, the built up environment, that is the concrete environment, that is far more in an urban setup. Maybe buildings, maybe roads, maybe bridges, etc. The various built up environment is far more in an urban. And of course, we don't find that excess built up in a rural. Now, urban means it is cities is an urban, towns belongs to urban. On the other hand, villages, hamlets, etc., they belong to rural settlement. Then we find life. What kind of a life do we have in an urban settlement? It is very fast and it is very much complicated. Just imagine the life of the metro cities, Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai, etc. So it is very fast and complicated. Around night 10 p.m., 11 p.m., that time also the city is awake. It is fully like various kinds of financial, etc. Transactions are going on. Offices are open. So life is very fast and complicated, but in a rural area, it is very simple and relaxed. Then, how is the environment? Because over here we find more built-up environment. So this built-up is actually because of human intervention, anthropogenic reasons. But over here in rural, we don't find so much built-up. That is why in urban, what happens? It is greater isolation from nature. We hardly see any features of nature over here. We don't see, like for example, again, take any big city. You won't find a simple agricultural field over here or simple fields over here over there. So you won't you will hardly find any non built up area. So there is greater isolation from nature. You will find less amount of trees, you will find less amount of oxygen, etc. You will find less amount of birds, etc. So greater isolation from nature. But in a rural area, it is direct contact with nature, be it the various kinds of nature. So that is great direct contact with nature. It is associated with what non-agricultural work. So the kind of work, the kind of economic activity is very much important, which differentiates between an urban and rural. Over here you find the secondary and the tertiary sectors, but here you find the primary sector of economy. Population size, not only the size but also the density, is very highly densely populated. Any urban area is densely populated, while the rural area is very sparsely or thinly populated, because population is also very low, less. Here in an urban setup, we find planned settlement. Wherever we will see in the next slides, we in urban setup we find that there is a planned drainage line. You will find planned residential sectors, you will find planned commercial sectors. So there is a planned urbanization, planned industrialization. But in a rural setup, you won't find such kind of a planning. You will find settlements situated within the various vegetation and fauna in that area. So that is randomly based, there is no planning as such. Social mobility among the population, it is very much in an urban area, while it is less over here in rural. We find more division of labor in urban, and we don't find any such division of labor in the rural. So if you see in an urban area, right from the various office goers or the various service sector, you will find a perfect division of labor. But in a rural sector, you will find a single person, he may do a multiple number of activities. He may be a farmer, he may also work in the religious sector, he may also the small manufacturing things. So there is no such division of labor. But here we find a perfect division of labor. If a person is working in a service sector, he won't work in the manufacturing sector. If he is working in the manufacturing sector, he won't work in the trade sector. But we don't find over here. Just like for example I was giving, like a farmer, he will till the land also, he will also sell his goods. He will also do other kinds of jobs also. So there is no as such division of labor in a rural place. So what do we mean by an urban place? If we go by the definition is that in an urban area or a rural area, it is differentiated by the nature of work, agricultural and non-agricultural work. And according to UNO, the minimum population of any area to be termed as urban, it should be 20,000. Now, but this amount, number of work, etc., 20,000 to be minimum population to be 20,000, this differs from country to country. Like, for example, in this Botswana, it is 5,000. But in India, we have 5,000. That is a minimum number of people, that is 5,000 people living in a particular place. We can call that as an urban. That can be town, city, etc. Now, what are the various criterias of an urban place? The various criterias being that it must be designated by some administrative status. Now, what kind of administrative status? Like, for example, in India, so now the right hand side, like in India, that kind may be known as a municipal area, or a city board area, or a cantonment area, or a notified town area, municipality area. So, like this, there are various corporation area. So, these are the administrative status. So, there are various administrative status. There should be a minimum population. Like for India, the minimum population is 5,000. There should be a minimum population density. It's like around 400 persons per square kilometer. The minimum population density for India is 400 persons per square kilometer. That means 400 person must stay. If 400 persons stay in 1 square kilometer of land, then that we can call that region, that area as an urban place. So these are the various types of criteria. Again, as I said before, that there should be non-agricultural occupations, that is not primary, it should be secondary or tertiary. It should have a certain kind of a function. Where, like for example, Mumbai, it is known as the financial capital of India. So, or Delhi, it is the administrative capital. Or for example, Aizawl. Aizawl has what function? Aizawl has the function of it is the administrative capital of Mizoram, or it is also the financial capital of Mizoram. So it must have a financial characteristics. Now, what do we mean by urban geography? Till now, we were seeing about urban place. Now, what do we mean by urban geography? Now, when we study about the site, the evolution of that urban place, the morphology of that urban place, the spatial pattern of that region, or the classification of towns. So, these things are called as urban geography. So when we study urban geography, it is what? It is a study of the various urban places. When we study those urban places with reference to the geographical environment, geographical surrounding, that is called an urban geography. So according to Griffith Taylor, so urban geography includes what? It includes the site, revolution pattern, and classification of towns. So it includes the various site situation, the patterns of those sites, the patterns of the towns, the evolution of the town, the classification of towns. So these things is in totality called the urban geography. So when we, it can be also considered as what? It is considered as a field of human geography. Why field of human geography? Because in urban geography, this is shaped by human being. So this is a field of human geography. So these are the various other definitions of urban geography. But Dickinson, by Mayer and Worf, he had identified 6 elements which forms the basis of urban geography. What are those? The built up environment. What is the human environment relationship in an urban context? What is the social geography and the social patterns? Why social geography? Because in an urban geography, obviously, it is we exist. We, the population, the human population, we exist. So when human population exists in a certain place, then obviously there will be social ties between human beings, between one and the other. So when social ties will be there, then obviously there will be social geography. So the various city systems, what are the functions of the various cities on a macro and a micro scale? And of course, we also learn about urban planning, etc., which is an important aspect of urban geography. So, what are the qualities of a city or town? So, city or town, it should have, like I had said before, that of course it should have the nature of activity, economic activity. So, the nature of activity is one of the most important qualities of a city or town, and which should be not primary. Except primary, it should be secondary, tertiary, etc. It should have an agglomeration of people. It is not that like in village that we have that small that we find dispersed population, but in city what we have agglomeration of population or nuclear population, nucleus. We have various clusters of population. A city or a town must have an historical origin. It must have an origin, and they must have certain functions like I had told, like commerce or politics or administration, etc. So there must be some kinds of function it must have. Now over here I have, there's a diagram for you to understand. For example, this is a whole geographical area. If this is a geographical area, then in the center I have already told that generally city or town or urban area is found in the center part. So this is the city in the center part, and then just surrounding the city is this fringe area or the outskirt fringe area, and then this is a buffer zone between the city and the village. So this buffer zone, the city actually expands into this buffer zone, and then we have this hinterland, and this hinterland can also be referred to as the village. So generally this is the structure of a geographical region with respect to the city, the fringe area, that is the outskirt, and the super outskirt, the ultimate outskirt, is this hinterland or the village. So there are various attributes of an urban settlement. What are the attributes? First of all, it is inherent attribute. In inherent, what do we study? We study the origin. How has it originated? How that city has originated? Like, for example, Babylon, or for example, our own, the Indus Valley civilization, the various cities in Indus Valley civilization. How did it originate? So, the origin, the site. What is a site? Like, for example, the Harappa or the Mohenjo-daro, Lothal. So these are the various cities. These were the various cities of the Indus Valley civilization. Where were they situated? So what is a site? Site was maybe some civilizations. Most of the civilizations of ancient world, they were situated beside some river. So what is a site? What is a situation? What is the process of urbanization? How has this slowly evolved into becoming an urban area? No a city directly does not become a city. It should evolve. There is a process of evolution. What is the structure? What is the morphological structure of that urban area? What is the morphological structure of that urban area? What is the layout? So, regarding morphology, land use, etc., the functions, etc., we will study more in detail in the next classes regarding the morphological detail, regarding the functional details, etc. Now, every city has a certain, it grows, it is like an organism. So it develops, it evolves, it grows, it declines, again it revives. So there is a progression. There is a linkage, like linkage with this hinterland, with umland, linkage with rural urban fringe. So there are various linkages with the various parts of with the surrounding parts. So, and also the cityscape. How is the landscape? What are the various maps? What are the surroundings? So these are the various attributes of an urban settlement. So now next we see about urban planning and urban planning and early urban sites. Now urban planning is a very important part of urban geography because, as I have said in the initial slides when I was giving you the example of comparison, so planning is an integral part, important part of any urban area. We don't find planning in a rural setup, but we find planning in an urban setup. So these are the examples, photos of some early urban sites. This is the Egyptian civilization. So you see a definite planning. You see a definite planning among the various structures over here. It is not haphazardly, randomly situated. There's a definite planning. Similarly, in Mesopotamian civilization, you see a definite planning of the various buildings, structures. There's a definite planning to that. This is the Harappan civilization. So again, you see that these brick kilns, whatever the remnants are there. So you see that there is a definite planning of these civilization, of how and where the various buildings were placed, and or etc. What are the functions of these buildings? Maybe based upon the functions of the buildings, they were situated like that. Like for example, in the Harappan civilization, the temples would be placed in the center of the city. So there is a definite planning we see among these ruins of ancient civilization. So, what is the scope of urban geography? According to R.L. Singh, the renowned geographer of India, there are three specific scopes. There are other scopes also, but there are three specific scopes of urban geography. What are the scopes? It is the physical structure of the city. How the city, what is the structure? What are the various structures, parts of the city? What is the process that has affected the various city structure, and what is the stage of city's historical development? It is in what stage? It is in a very youthful stage, it is in a dying state, it is in what stage? Like for example, Varanasi city of India, it is one of the oldest living city of India. So it is in what stage? What stage does the city is situated? Like for example, uh, like we have various old cities like Takshila, etc. So those cities are what they are at a dying stage. So, what is the stage of the city's development? Whether the city is at a dying stage, whether the city is a revival stage, whether the city is at an old stage, whether the city is at a new stage. For example, Bangalore, it is a new vibrant city. It is in the stage of a vibrant or a new or a mature city. So at what stage the city situated, it is based upon the historical development. Now this picture that I have shown you over here, this is what this shows about the structure of the city. So according to here, in the structure of the city, you see that this red zone over here, this shows the center city, the central part. So then you see over here, these are the major of the activity centers. These orange parts are the major activity centers. Then about the community centers, these are the various community centers. So this city has been delineated into various structures based upon the various utility of the city, based upon the various uses of the city. Like for example, this particular this thing, it is public utility. These places are the public utility. So these are the various structures, or this is major public open zone, open public open space. So what is the structure of the city? How is the city delineated? This is an important scope, because when we study about the structure of the city, then it is, we need to have this blueprint before we have, before we can undertake the planning of the city. If we don't know what is situated where, then how can we plan about the city? We can't plan about the city if we don't know. If we want to have an industrial setup, for example, if we want to take an industrial setup over here, but we don't have this plan, this blueprint, we can't have an industrial setup over here, because we already have a major this is an open space, this is a public open space. We can't have an industrial setup over here. So that is why it is very much important to know the structure of the city before going into the plan of that city. Now, these are the other various scopes of urban geography. Those three were the major scopes, and these are the other scopes of urban geography. For example, physical geography. We need to have, urban geography needs to have, this is a relation with physical geography. Why? Because in physical geography, we study about the various urban sites. We study about the various hazards. For example, if we want to study about the urban geography of Aizawl, we must know about the physical geography of Aizawl. We must know about, why? Because we must know where are the various in Aizawl city, where are the various hazard places, because we know that Aizawl is landslide prone. So we need to have a proper understanding of what are the hazard areas of Aizawl. So based upon that, then we can plan about Aizawl city. So physical geography is an important aspect, or comes under the purview of the scope of urban geography. Same goes of geography and planning. Of course, planning, as I have been repeating, that urban planning or planning is an important part of urban geography. Cultural geography. Now, when human being is existing, then cultural geography and social geography, these are two interlinked. When human being is existing, obviously there will be interlinkages of culture. Economic geography. Of course, in economic geography, because in an urban setup, the economy is one of the most important players. Economy is one of the most important players, the secondary and the tertiary economy. Historical geography, to study about the patterns, to study about the evolution of that urban place. It is historical geography is important. The marketing geography, to understand about the retail structure, to understand about the business scenario. Marketing geography is important. Medical geography, when human being is existing, obviously we will have various aspects of health. So demographic geography, transport geography for mobility is required. Regional geography, to understand the various sub-regions within the within that particular place of urban geography. So these are the various types of the scope of urban geography. So yeah, these are just some of the types. You can say that there are much more types of types, or we can say there are much more branches with which urban geography is interlinked. We can say that these are the various scopes of urban geography. So urban geography is linked with various other aspects. So it can also, we can also say that it is interdisciplinary with respect to the various other sub aspects of geography. So this is in brief about urban geography, its scope, and introduction of urban geography.